The romance genre has always been extremely popular, but I feel like now more than ever that the readers of romance are ravenous. They're the type of readers that read 30, 50, 80, or even over 100 books a year. What is it about the romance genre that readers just can't get enough of it? Is it truly as simple as writing a love story? Well, that's what we're dissecting today. We are going to be talking about the 8 elements of romance novels that truly just make it the book that readers know, love, and are addicted to and want to read over and over, even if the genre trends and tropes repeat themselves. Hello everyone, my name is Mandi Lynn. I'm an author, book cover designer, and the creator of the Book Launch Planner series, and I make weekly videos on the business of being an author. So if that sounds good to you, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification icon so you never miss a new upload. So I'm currently writing my first standalone romance series, aka all the books stand on their own, but they have elements that intertwine with each other to put them in the same universe. Now, previously, I wrote a book series, The Road Trip Snapshot, and this is a book series that is coming of age first, romance second. And the final book in the series ended up being more romance first, coming of age second. And this is just speaking on the themes of the book and what made the book move forward in plot. So I like to think that The Trail to Me, which is the last book in the series, it's also a standalone. This is the first romance novel I've ever written, and when I was writing in it, I was like, oh my god, this is my genre. Like, I feel like as an author, I've been hopping all over the place in terms of genre a little bit, and this is my genre. I love it. And then I of course have been reading romance for many years, and I'm addicted to it. So today I wanted to sit down and dissect what makes a romance novel, and these certain things that we as romance novel writers need to make sure we include in our books to make sure that they have that addicting and lovable quality that readers are looking for. So, element number 1 that all romance novels possess is the theme of love conquers all. This means that at the end of the day, our two love interests will have a happy ending. Might take a bit to get there, but they will end up happily ever after. Element number 2 is that there is some sort of meet cute. This is a term that I feel like is newer, but it's just however our two love interests end up meeting. It's usually a unique, cutesy way that they end up meeting, or maybe they meet and it goes terribly and they hate each other and then it turns into an enemies to lovers or hate to love sort of story. But either way, this meet cute ends up being a foreshadowing in some way that we as the reader, and when we encounter the meet cute, we can see like, oh yeah, these are the two people that are going to be ending up together at the end of the story. Element number 3 is the type of conflict. And the type of conflict is whatever is stopping our characters from falling in love. This conflict, aka whatever is causing the anti-love, is what is driving the story forward. It's also usually the selling point of the book. So the conflict could be friends to lovers, aka if these friends end up lovers, that transition could be really awkward or fail miserably. So let's not be lovers at all. Let's just be awkward friends together. Or if the conflict was a sort of enemies to lovers story, it's the fact that maybe you hate the other person, and that's the thing that's stopping the two from getting together. Element number 4 is misconceptions. This is, to me at least, my bread and butter as a reader. It's also a love and hate relationship, I should say, but misconceptions, aka each character is making assumptions about the other character, and it's causing these huge divides and misconceptions in the story. Aka she likes him, but she thinks that he likes another girl, and he likes her, but he thinks that she's not interested at all. Those sort of misconceptions. And as a reader, it is super, super frustrating, but it's also addicting as a reader, and it keeps us going. You can't put it down because you know they're going to end up together at the end of the day, but you just don't know how, because every time they get close, another misconception happens. Element number 5 is romantic tension. We all know romantic tension. We've all experienced it, whether it be in real life or a movie or a book, is that you can just feel it in the air. Even if the two characters aren't even flirting with each other yet, you can feel the romantic tension. We want the reader rooting for the couple, even if the couple's not rooting for themselves. In fact, usually it is that the couple doesn't root for themselves. The couple is usually talking themselves out of being a couple, but we, the reader, we know better, and we understand that these two, they've got romantic chemistry and they just need to give in, and we have to sit back and watch them figure it out. Now, there's many different ways that you do that, but one of the ways that you can create romantic tension involves the next element, which is butterflies in your stomach. So whether you experienced it or not, we have all heard of the term butterflies in your stomach. It's probably hard to describe the feeling, but it's like a nervous little fluttering, and it happens because of love. And we want our readers and our main characters to experience those butterflies in their stomach. Everyone wants to experience love, and what if we can allow readers to experience love over and over and over again through the pages of a book? That's what makes romance novels so addicting, is that you can experience that feeling of first love over again. And going back to the addicting qualities is, what if we take that feeling of first love and we combine it with the fantasy elements? And people read fantasy because they want to escape the real world, and then people read romance because they want to experience love. So what if we escape the real world while also experiencing love? That's really where a lot of the addictive qualities have happened, especially if you're someone on Book Talk. The fantasy romance genre on Book Talk is, oh my god, wild. But I feel like that's one of the very addicting elements of especially the fantasy romance genre. Now, I don't write fantasy romance, but I just had to note that's an extra element of escaping the real world while also still experiencing this real world thing that we all dream of. Element number 7 in romance novels is emotional connection. This doesn't tend to happen till a little bit later on in the book, depending on the story. But this is where our two love interests finally open up to each other and they let their walls down. In the first act of the book, we realize how much they have their walls up and how much they don't want to fall in love. And then later on in the rest of the book, they start to lower their walls more and more. They have this emotional connection with the other person. And we're all humans here. We all have emotions. We all sometimes have issues sharing our emotions. And that's why when you do it through the pages of a book and you allow your main characters to share these emotions, the readers get to experience it in the same way and in a safe way. And I think that's a lot of the reason why readers love romance novels so much. They can experience all these emotions in a very safe way. And there's a lot of different ways to share emotional connections through your characters. One way is that they can share stories of their past with each other, or one person helps another person conquer a fear, or like I said earlier, one person is just finally letting their guard down enough to open up to the other person. And now let's talk about the last element of a romance novel, and that is a character with flaws. Because I can't tell you, nothing makes me more angry than reading a perfect character. So especially when it comes to the love interests, do not make them too perfect, because we want to mimic a real world. Like I said, I think the thing about a romance novel is that there's emotions that are happening in the real world that you want to experience through the page of a book. It's like the exact opposite of escaping the real world. It's like it's stepping into a real world environment where you control what's going to happen, aka you fall in love. So if we're trying to mimic the real world, we don't want our main character to be too perfect. We want them to be also relatable, and we all realize we're not perfect people in this world, so why would the main character be as well? They also just tend to fall a little flat if they're too perfect. They just seem like they're a figure rather than a person. So in the first draft of Meet Me at the Summit, when I wrote it, the love interest, Dylan, I may have made him too perfect. He responded to everything in a perfect way. He was the perfect boyfriend, blah, 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 blah. My editor said, hey, You need to give him flaws. He's too perfect. And that's when I noticed he was indeed too perfect, and he was just making things a little too easy for the main character. So I had to unperfect him and make him flawed, still lovable, but flawed. And basically when you give your character a flaw, you make them more dynamic, more relatable, and it just feels more real. If you want, I actually have another video on writing realistic characters, so I will leave that video linked down below. Otherwise, that is going to be it for today. Those are what I feel like are the 8 elements of romance novels that make them addicting and so beloved by readers. If there's other things that I haven't mentioned, please let me know in the comments down below. I think this is super interesting, as not only as a reader of romance, but also as a writer of romance, trying to recreate that special feeling we get when we read a romance novel. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe.